going on, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, Seeker of the Unknown. If you guys have not been here before and this is your first time joining in, welcome. Had to get a couple things set up. I got TikTok that was running crazy and was not allowing me to get on. Was not allowing me to get on the TikTok platform. This is why I took my glasses off, because you can see all this crap. You can't see anything. But anyway, yeah, it's been a minute. Been a good while. Finally back at home, starting to get stuff set up. The year is winding down. It's already August. Holy crap. Yeah, so got the communications set up. So if you guys want to, I've posted the link in the comment sections that was sent out. It's probably going to the Facebook account, the YouTube account, and the X account. I think. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So if you guys want to join the podcast, please feel free to do so. The link is there in the comment section. Go ahead and jump on that, click on it, and then I can add you. Once it pops up, I can bring you on the podcast. So a lot of things going on in the news. Not really too concerned about a lot of this craziness that's happening. It is concerning, to say the least, but I don't think it is something that warrants anything out of the ordinary. We are seeing a lot of catastrophes coming forward. The Ring of Fire, if you don't know what that is, the Ring of Fire, the tectonic plates that shift all the way through from the West Coast, all the way up through Alaska, all the way around through Russia, down into Australia, and back down and up and around again, have been really active. And for the past few days, I've been doing a lot of monitoring on the website of the monitoring of all the earthquakes that are happening, and it seems like things are getting active. Is it anything to be concerned about? I don't know, but this is something that has been forewarned for a while, that the inevitability of these major earthquakes that we have been hearing about since the 80s, since 88, when the big one hit San Francisco in the Bay Area. I'm pretty sure a lot of the 80s kids that are out there, you guys remember that big one. Most popular thing was the World Series, the Oakland A's broadcast, the Bay Bridge collapsing, and that horrific incident that took place during that earthquake. A lot of lives were lost, and people have been saying, this is something that is going to happen again. We're due for another big one, and it seems like it's gearing up to rear its ugly head again. But what is it about these catastrophes? I mean, we've got these major floods on the East Coast, Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, these big storms, Chicago, that have really just reared out of nowhere this devastation of biblical proportions. And it's not even just here in the U.S. Again, these earthquakes, Russia had like 6 or 7, little seismic quakes right after this big 8.7, I think it was, that hit. Then you've got there was another one that hit in Australia, another one off of the Philippines. Then there's been a couple of them that have happened, little 4.7s, 4.3s or something in California, down in Los Angeles and just north of LA, south of Bakersfield area. Even Yellowstone National Park has had, I think it was like a 2.3 or a 3.2, something like that happened yesterday or the day before. People have been monitoring that. I posted some videos on that on Facebook with a gentleman who was trying to figure out what the hell this shaking is that's going on in the ground. He's like, it's just a vibrating, a shaking in the ground, and he's putting his water bottle down on the ground and it's just bouncing. And a lot of weird things have been happening. I mean, weird anomalies that are, happening all over the globe. But, is this something that has been foretold or that has been rearing its head for a while? And it's not the first time that it's happened. I mean, when you look back and you have these activities that seem to be happening, these great resets every 10 to 12,000 years of these catastrophes that happen, these earthquakes, these volcano eruptions, these mass floodings that take place that destroy civilizations and wipe out communities, and not even just communities, but just a lot of major areas. And one of the biggest ones that we've seen that is now coming to pass, that a lot of people are starting to realize, is this mud flood that wiped out these areas. And it seemed to be, there was a video that just came out, I think it was in Russia, of this major landslide. It was wicked. I was watching these people videoing it, and it was just like this massive mud flood that was just coming through and just wiping out these towns, just totally destroying everything in its path. But what I'm talking about is this event, or these events that occur that seem to decimate civilizations, like a reset. They call them the Great Resets. And it seems to happen about every 10 to 12,000 years. And is this something that we are seeing coming to fruition now, that we are witnessing the beginning of this Great Reset? And do these one percenters, these elites, these globalists, these people who are in the know, that have been gearing up for this for years now. I mean, we've been seeing, people like Bill Gates and what's his face, Facebook, building these massive bunkers, these doomsday bunkers, and buying up these, old missile silos and converting them into these doomsday bunkers, or just buying these pieces of property and building these massive underground bunkers. Are they preparing for something that they are made aware of that is not savvy to all of us who are just living our lives? Because they figure, well, these people are expendable. They are not in the need, in the realm of furthering civilization. And we're just going to save the people that are in the know. Which is really crazy, because when you think about it, it's not anything that would be out of the scope of what they haven't done before. But when we look back at ancient civilizations, we have ancient Tartaria that was totally wiped out. Not a reset per se, but there was a lot of destruction and stuff that happened during that time. You have Göbekli Tepe, which was a thriving civilization. They know something had to have happened, that they intentionally buried that site and covered it up to preserve it for future generations, but it was around the exact same time of this great flood narrative. And when you look back, and it's not just in Western cultures, it's through every culture and civilization in the world, that speaks of this great flood that destroyed everything, or these great cataclysms that came through volcanoes or earthquakes or mass floods that seem to reset the matrix, the life cycle on Earth. And not all civilization was destroyed, but it seems like a lot of the civilizations that were on Earth were obliterated and had to restart again. And with everything that is going on, and with the things that are happening in the news, with the wars that are popping up, and like I said, these natural disasters, these earthquakes, these volcanoes, these floods that are just popping up out of nowhere, could this be something that we are foreseeing that could be happening in our lifetime? It seems like there's a lot of things that are taking place that we have been witnessing that is building up to this, and we're going to jump into that and talk about it. And like I said, if you want to join in on the podcast and you want to come on and talk about some things, go ahead and click the link. I posted it on my Facebook page, and if you want, go ahead and click on that link and it will bring you to the podcast. And once you get on here, I can bring you on and we'll have a discussion and we'll talk about some things. But if not, then you can go ahead and just comment in the comments section. You'll see it right here. There it is. Click that link right there inside of the comments section if you guys can see it. And go ahead and try and get on the chat, and then we'll take it from there. But as always, we're going to go ahead and start the podcast. All right, let's do it. Cool. Welcome back, everybody. So, as I was saying, the Great Resets, ancient texts, you've got the Mesopotamians who talk about the Great Flood. You've got the Eastern philosophies, the scriptures that come out of Asia and, in Europe and Africa, and these indigenous cultures who speak of this catastrophe that happened that wiped out these civilizations because the anger of the gods. The gods were mad, they were upset about what was happening on the earth, and they decided to go ahead and destroy the civilizations and the populations on earth, their creation. But not all of the creation was destroyed. We know that in the Sumerian texts, it talks about how the sky gods Enki and Enlil, when Enki was trying to help them, and Enlil was like, I'm not having any of this, and he decided to send the flood. We know that at that time, that Utnapishtim is the one who survived, who is in the Bible, the biblical story of Noah, which was adapted from the ancient Sumerian text. And it talks about how they survived and how his family would be blessed to carry on the bloodline of the gods. Because you got to remember something. Utnapishtim was the descendant of Adam. So Adam, or Adamu, as it is carried on from the ancient Sumerian texts, was created by using the blood of the sky gods. He was, in essence, a part of them. So his bloodline carried on through to Noah, who was saved because obviously they wanted to keep a piece of their bloodline from this creation that they created in order to further civilization. And we see from then that a lot of things happen where these catastrophes that wipe out civilizations, like the ancient city of Atlantis. We know that a very massive earthquake that shook that area or the region of where Atlantis was caused these tsunamis to flood the islands, and the island was pretty much covered by water. It sunk into the sea. One thing that is really cool, that astonishes me, that is really fascinating, that I think is really intriguing, is that a lot of these islands, these cities, these civilizations that were being devastated by these cataclysms are now showing up around a lot of places that we never thought we would have ever seen again. Florida, the Bahamas, the coastal regions in that area are yielding vast amounts of data and information from what they're getting through satellite imagery. I know I spoke about this once in an earlier podcast when I was talking about how the archaeologists or the crew that was doing renovations on the street were digging, and they ended up hitting an ancient civilization that dates back like 40,000 years, I think is what they're saying. Which is really crazy because we're talking about Florida, not in some other country somewhere. This is here where they are finding these sophisticated civilizations that were living here in the United States. Which is not so far-fetched, because seeing how all these indigenous cultures and these cultures that were living here in America were telling about these knowledgeable civilizations that were here. Not only these knowledgeable civilizations, but we do run into the stories of the red-headed giants. These cannibalistic giants that were here, that were living, not just here, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia. Why is it that all these cultures that are supposedly did not have any contact with each other, if we listen to the narration of the mainstream science academics, that claim that none of these civilizations had anything to do with each other? They didn't know about each other. They weren't trading, or they weren't seafaring because they were primitive. But yet there's vast amounts of information to contradict this. But they all share similar stories of where these gods came from, these cataclysms that happened on a global scale, because it didn't just affect one side or one area of the world. It affected all of them. Because if it affected one side, these people were leaving their land to escape these cataclysms to go somewhere else. And they would mingle in with the other tribes. Or they would tell their stories about what happened in their homeland to these people that wherever they were going. In a lot of these ancient texts, a lot of stories or a lot of narrations break down into this: that the planet goes through cycles, phases, okay, of change, of repurging itself, in cycles of 10 to 12,000 years, maybe even longer. But we do know around that timeline of 10 to 12,000 years, based on what people are saying, that are looking into this harder, because it seems like there's a lot of information that is coming out of this that could be a forewarning of things to come. It's kind of like saying, hey, this is happening in our time and it happened before our time. This amount in between these catastrophes. It seems to be a cycle of something that is happening. And they left information for us to follow. Now, has this information been heeded? Do the governments of the world heed this information that is left behind? I'm pretty sure that there are academics who are black budget projects that are working secretly at some military base in some place in Antarctica, someplace, in the deserts and the mountains and the inner earth sanctions of whatever resources that the governments are giving to these projects to try and find answers about this stuff. And you have these independent researchers and these independent seekers who are looking into this stuff and sharing this knowledge with everybody. But it's like when we get together or we talk about this stuff and we put the pieces together and we're thinking, man, wow, could this be a roadmap or a warning sign that was left by these previous cultures in order to warn us about our future catastrophes? Like, hey, look, we look out for these signs, look out for what is going to happen, because when it gets to this point, it's going to be too late. Do everything you can to save yourself. I think that the ancient civilizations were trying to do. And I think that if we follow them or we heed them, we could possibly save a lot of people. And I'm pretty sure that, like I said, that the government is doing things to implement something in case this does hit the fan. It would be like a day after tomorrow, or what's the other one? Deep Impact. One of these movies. And this is what's crazy, is because it goes back into this whole narration that they've got to know something in order to be warning us through TV shows, through movies, through visual representations that pretty much just like takes us and dumbs us down to the fact where it's like, oh, we've seen this before, it's nothing. It desensitizes us to the point where we're not like, oh my god, running around and freaking out until the crap actually hits the fan. But it makes for interesting discussion, right? That we see all this stuff that has happened through movies, TV shows, whatever, these asteroids that are coming towards Earth and could potentially wipe out a majority of civilization on Earth, and they're only going to save a handful of people. Deep Impact, that was the case. They were only saving so many people, and everybody else was just going to have to fend for themselves. Day After Tomorrow was the same thing. Anybody who was above the line that was going to be frozen or caught up in this storm, that because of the pole shifting and the reversal of the oceans, they were crap out of luck. But only a certain amount of people were being taken to safety. You've got other movies where they're talking about programs that have been in the works for years because they knew that something was going to happen and they wanted to be prepared for it. So they made these arcs to carry people, a certain amount of people, to safety, and everybody else was going to have to fend for themselves. It seems like that would probably be a plausible thing for them to be doing, is preparing for the worst case scenario, getting this life-saving tactics honed down, and knowing that when the time comes that the shit is going to hit the fan and they're not going to be able to save everybody. So maybe it is going to come to that point where if it does actually happen, that like it in the movies, people see what's happening. So in their mind, they're going, holy crap, this crap is really happening. But as far as like the ancient cultures forewarning us about these future catastrophes and heeding the warnings of these ancient cultures. What do you guys think? What is a perspective that you could see for happening or coming about through these cultural warnings or these tellings of these catastrophes that have happened throughout these periods of time? You know, what do you guys think? What is your guys' interpretation of this? So we're on, like I said, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on X, and Facebook. Man, I love these Celsiuses. They're great, and I'm no way in shape or form getting paid to sponsor them or anything, but they're really good. It's really fascinating to think that ancient cultures pretty much were leaving us roadmaps of information, whether it be about future catastrophes or forewarning us of what the earth is capable of doing because they witnessed it during their time. But to think that now we have come so far with technological advancements, well, that has been released to us. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's things that are far more advanced than what we are being told about right now. But these things that we are capable of doing, like this ground penetrating radar, this LiDAR system, this amazing satellite that is able to penetrate the Earth's crust and see into it, making these discoveries about things that were hidden underneath the pyramids, that ancient texts like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, who wrote them about 36,000 years ago, talked about the very structures that they're finding underneath the pyramids. And what else is out there that they're not, that we know already based on the information that was already put out, or the research that people are going back and finding about all these mounds, all these burial sites, these hidden structures that could not have possibly have been made by man. But even having the remains of these beings and creatures in those, inside of those structures or those mounds or the burial sites, or in these places of the earth that people describe seeing or witnessing these chambers or these mass buildings that could not have been made by human beings. And thinking that these beings were so sophisticated that they could plot charts mapping their sites of wherever they were at to the stars, to the solar system itself. You know what I mean? And doing so because they knew that when these cycles came through, that certain things would happen. Not just, the harvesting of their crops and the seasons and learning about, how to survive and sustain themselves because winter was coming, summer was coming. And they had to, base their life cycle around the stars in order to survive and live and thrive in wherever they were at. But they did so, like the Aztec calendar, right? Prime example. The Aztec calendar, all these scientists were like, oh man, 2012, it's going to be the end of everything because the Aztec calendar even says so. But a lot of scientists are saying that they miscalculated the readings of these Aztec symbols, and that this calendar system is not talking about anything 2012, is that it's misreading it and that they were off and that it goes through cycles. They were saying that even inside of the calendar, a scientist that is down there and he's doing the studying of the symbols that are on the calendar says that this thing was reading can go back in time on this calendar to the very beginning of creation. And they even have a date for it of when creation began because of the interpretations of the symbols and the mathematics that correlate with the symbolism, because it bases it off of the stars, and they can chart the stars back to its original timing of the date that they were given off of the calendar using the stars. They know exactly when the creation began, around what time. They know when these cycles, because they say that we're in the fourth Earth or something like that. And this is the time and place when a lot of this stuff is going to be revealed to a lot of people, or things are going to be revealed that people are going to be shocked. But are they going to take it for what it is? Are they going to be serious enough to understand, like, this is real evidence here? Oops. This is not just something that is just being, oh, we're throwing out this theory again of, this, and this. No, this is real hard stuff that they're finding that is conclusive, that is saying we need to start thinking about our history here, because a lot of the things that we thought we knew are wrong. Plain and simple. It is not real. And the answers of, are we alone? Are we the only ones in the universe? Are we the only life forms that are capable of being advanced and technologically sound enough to travel through space? Well, obviously there are other things that are out there that are far more advanced than what we are. And this narrative that is coming out about this whole thing being hostile, please understand this, because I don't believe a lot of these guys that come out of these government whistleblower guys that were on, the panel that was before Congress during the whole the hearing. And it makes me wonder if everybody understands the seriousness of what we don't see, but people like Dr. Stephen Greer, Billy Carson, David Wilcox, Emery Smith, and countless others who, Dr. Stephen Greer has been heading this project of disclosure since the 80s. And, he has been been at the forefront of this disclosure movement for a long time. And I feel sorry for the guy because, he's done so much and he's lost so much, and he risks a lot in order to get this information out. And if you don't know, you can go to his website where he has disclosed all of his files. Everything that they have, his archive, is public now. Everything. You can literally see thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures and videos and eyewitness testimonies, government documents that were declassified or that were given to Dr. Stephen Greer on a first-hand basis because it was something that they were involved with and they wanted people to be aware of it. And Dr. Stephen Greer was like, well, you know what? This is something we've been wanting to do. Now we have the means to do it. I'm giving it to the public, because what good is it for him to have it all? Okay. Let's see. What good is it for him to have it all if we are all left in the dark with only just him and his inner circle knowing about all this stuff that he's been telling us about for the past 40 years, 30, 32 years, and that is one thing that, he has been saying is that they have been trying to make connection with these beings interstellarly through his CE5 program. They have been successful in doing a lot of contact stuff. If you've ever watched any of his videos of when they are out in the Arizona desert and they're doing these sessions, these CE5 sessions, they capture a lot of amazing responses. And it's really cool. But his take on a lot of this is that these beings are not hostile. They view us as being more hostile, a threat to the galaxy because of what is going on with the human race. That if it was to be anything that was be destroyed, it would be us. That we are the threat to the world and the galaxy, and they view us as trying to survive and help us in a way that is going to make us better, because they're far past that. A lot of these entities that Dr. Stephen Greer talks about, he says that these beings are actually a guiding force for humanity to enable us to get to where they are, and have been doing so for a long time. If you look at Native American cultures, they talk about the same thing. The Pueblo Indians and the Four Corners region, they talk about these beings that were sent to guide us and help us and steer us in the right way. And then they had beings that were there to destroy us and literally devour the essence of humanity. And it goes again through these cycles where we see that something comes down and then it annihilates them with a flood, or these catastrophic events, earthquakes, hurricanes, or volcanoes. And it's like, it's a cycle where it seems like a lot of this stuff that is going on now in the world that is just completely devastating and detrimental to the human race. That are we at the verge of something happening where we are the inevitability of us destroying ourselves because of the creations that we've made, these weather modifying stations that, the whistleblowers that were coming out of Antarctica talking about, yes, we have earthquake machines in Antarctica and we are able to conduct earthquake activity on the tectonic plates by shifting them. HAARP, weather modification, that's been going on for a long time. Now they're coming out saying, yes, it is true, and that we need to get control of it. And, chemtrails are real. But what are we doing that is catching the attention of these interstellar beings that have visually seen the catastrophes that we are implementing and causing on this planet? That, if these beings are so advanced and they wanted to destroy us, what would be something that would stop them from doing so? Nothing. So the thought of these guys that are coming out of the government, and I'm not going to name blast, put people out there, but if you know who this guy that's, came out with this TikTok video, he's one of the guys that Dr. Stephen Greer is saying is a CIA plant mouthpiece. He's a guy that's just going out there and just, talking about this stuff, blah, 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 because he's just a plant. He's just there to, put the seed of fear in people and tell them, just like Wernher von Braun was saying, the last stage of the takeover by these Kabbalists, these elites, is to implement the idea of a alien invasion. Verbatim. And Wernher von Braun died in the 70s? And he told his witness, and this is not just him, this is something that has been accounted for through other channels that Dr. Stephen Greer has made public, is that they are gearing up to make this a scare tactic to implement fear and control into people of a false alien invasion. And not only this, but we see that there is this galactic object, whatever it is, that is defying physics, that is moving against the gravitational field of these planets that it's passing by. And these objects it should, and the way it's moving, the scientists are saying it's not moving like a free floating asteroid. It's moving really fast. It's turning, and it's calculating like where these objects are to miss it. But it's going so fast, and they know that the trajectory, the range of where it's coming, is going to be within our universe to Earth by November. It seems really interesting that we've been seeing these drones that are coming out of the ocean. They can't explain it. They can't supposedly define what they are. These alien encounters, like the one that happened in Las Vegas, I was watching the video, and there's so many videos out there that are just like, this is crazy. Like, it is like quadrupled by 500 the amount of videos that come out about these ships or whatever, or these aliens. But the one in Las Vegas was really interesting because it was caught not only by people who it fell into their backyard or whatever, but the police officers that caught it on their chest cameras and seen the creatures themselves. The video of all of this stuff it's intense, because when the people, I mean, like I said, there's a bunch of videos out there, but there was one that I was watching, and I'll post it inside of the feed later on, that you're looking in there, in the background after the guy goes out there, and you could see the background. It's like, where the hell are they? Because you can't see them. And they're like, it's right there in this thing. But a lot of videos are looking at something that I don't think that it's what it is. But this one cat, he distorted the pictures, the colors, and went through and messed with everything. And holy shit, like, you see this thing and it's freaking crazy. Because, I mean, if this is real, what this thing was, there was a freaking hoe that this guy had it parked in his backyard, and it was taller than that. So anybody that's been in construction and knows that when you have these big hoes or these bucket loaders, they're tall, man. They're big. And for this thing to be bigger than that, and he's on the other side of it, was really interesting, because the description of what these people were saying, it was like 10 to 13 feet tall. It had big eyes, and it was hiding. And yeah, I mean, sure as shit, when this guy was doing the video, I mean, you could see it clear as day. But I'm getting into this because it wraps into how all of this stuff has been hitting rampant. I mean, every day there's like brand new cases of sightings of these UFOs. There's brand new cases of these sightings of these aliens. The government, like I said, had this hearing, but we didn't hear anything after that. There was nothing that was released that was, detrimental to a release. It was like giving us some breadcrumbs and saying, okay, well, you should be happy with that. Now shut up. But there's nothing that has come out to say definitively, here's the hardcore evidence and here's the proof, because they're not giving us anything. It's just a thing of, well, it's like Dr. Stephen Greer was saying, all the information, this stuff that is being held onto by these governments, these corporations, these contracted government agencies that are reverse engineering or engineering these crafts or this technology that is has detrimental ramifications of either helping society, helping us health-wise, electrical ramifications, food-wise, agricultural-wise, that would cause peace to be able to finally be achieved because of these technologies, is being hidden from the human population, because they know that if they gave this stuff out, they'd be crap out of luck. They would not be able to make money. They would be done. So this is one of the things that I think really got me into following Dr. Stephen Greer, was because of his passion to do what he does and to keep driving, just like, the ridicule that people get from saying, well, this is what I believe and this is based off of this. I would shout it from the rooftops when I was working with a bunch of guys doing construction and stuff. And I'd sit there and I'd be talking to them about stuff that I was reading or looking into. And they're like, dude, you're fucking nuts. You're crazy, dude. Like, what is wrong with you? But it's not that. It's just because you try and give them the information to open their eyes to see what's really going on and saying, hey, you're narrow-sighted. There's a whole slew of crap that is going on that we are not savvy to because they keep it hidden from us. Look over here and not about what's going on in the deep state over here, health-wise, electrical-wise, medicine, food. It's really sad. It's really crazy when you start looking at a lot of the things that they're doing, that they are really, literally, they are bringing about the end of times, the apocalypse. Because the notion that everybody that is in these 1%, in the 1%, is that the rest of the population is expendable. That they only matter because of their intellect or their wealth or the knowledge and information that they are acquiring, that they use to say, oh, well, I have this, and if I'm not in this, in this saving factor, then when the crap hits the fan, then I'll just give it to the other country and they'll be ahead of you. You know what I mean? And it's like what we're seeing now in the Middle East with this whole thing with Israel. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a political person. I don't take sides with anybody or anybody. I'm a veteran myself, and like I said, if we have to go in and kick somebody's butt, we're going to do it. I'm all for it. But to do what they are doing right now, God forbid that was something that was happening in the United States, which it already is. But we don't see it until somebody is throwing it right in your face, of mass murders, mass genocide. And I don't care if it was vice versa, if it was flipped away the other way, the whole world would be burning. The heads of state would have nuked them already. But why is it okay for one to do it and turn your eye to it when it's blatantly in your face? That should worry people a lot. Because if things can be allowed to happen right in front of us, what else are they going to do? What else are they going to be able to look and be just like, well, we can get away with it now because now they're going to just allow it to happen. We are seeing the ramifications of a well-organized plan to deceive the people, to dumb a generation down to the point to where they will follow anything that they are being told. They will listen to those who are telling them this is the right thing. We are doing this for you. Give us your freedom and we'll save you. And we are seeing a two-sided faction. Those who grew up knowing that the government had its place and they worked for the people, and those who see the government as their savior and are willing to sacrifice not only their freedom, but everybody else's freedoms as well. I think that the catastrophe for our time is going to be the turning of the tides, not just Mother Nature doing its thing, because we now know that we can control Mother Nature. We can make her do whatever we want her to do. But I think it's coming at a price where we are going to see our creation, our savior keys, turn against us. It is going to be our very undoing. And I believe that we are witnessing the earth starting to react in order to save itself. Does that make sense? That it is kickstarting a cycle of eradication. And I think these people who are in control know about it. They are aware of it. They are doing what they can to speed it up. Because, if anybody else has looked at stuff and thought, well, this world can't be, this stuff is just too bizarre. Like, why is this stuff being allowed to happen? It seems too awkward to just be happening for no reason. And it's like, you guys don't see what's happening? Like, people are just dumbed down to the notion of what is really happening in front of their face. And they're believing things. And I don't throw biblical narratives out because I try and stay out of that whole push for, implementing things based off of religious narratives. But I will say this, that in Revelations, it talks about at the end of times, when things are going to come about, where people are going to witness catastrophes, wars and rumors of wars, the rising of the beast, and the return of the Antichrist. Do you not think that these people who are in these seats of control have not read the same things that we have all read and have gone deeper because they have the materials and the essence and the power and the money to research this, to see where this has led and where it's going to lead? They're not dumb. They know what is going on. So would it not be too far-fetched to think that they would implement the coming about of these end times to make those people who are so brainwashed and so naive to sit there and go, this is it. This is your rapture. Where did all these people go? They're gone. People go missing now. Gone. Thousands and thousands of people every year vanish. Nowhere to be found. Or if they do get found, they're 12, 20 miles, and they can't explain how they got there. What would be any different from any of these people being abducted and gone? And them making a hologram that you could see, hear, feel, experience, that you believe that it's so real. You couldn't tell the difference if it was fake. We are literally watching the power of AI to convince people that what they are looking at is the genuine thing. The creators of AI have even said, we are going to get so far into this that we won't know what reality is anymore. That it's going to be hard for us to distinguish between fake and real, a computer and flesh and blood. Could we be witnessing our own demise? Could we be creating our great reset? Is there something that is going to happen that is going to be a cause for all humanity to get pushed into survival mode, where we are literally going to have to fight to survive? Our humanity is going to have to survive. We're going to have to figure it out. But it is going to be something that is going to be brought about by human cause, the effects of what humanity has done. There are a lot of theories where people, like I said, have put things into movies, into shows. There's been authors who have been writing about things, about humanity having to push to survive because of our own demise. And natural disasters, being that they are natural, meaning that, volcanoes are not just, it's not a fake volcano. It's the earth actually erupting. It's an actual volcano. Earthquakes, same thing. Tsunamis, same thing. But we know now that we can control these things. We know now that we can control rain, weather, typhoons, these massive monsoons that just rain and cause mud floods and major flooding around everywhere. What is natural and what is man-made? We've seen through past storms and hurricanes where these people are predicting what these storms are going to do, and they do it. But we know that nature does not move in this manner. Okay? If a storm is going to go, it's not going to make a 90-degree turn and turn left. You know what I mean? It's not just going to shift its course like that. And for people to predict this, and it happens. And now we're finding out that they're able to control this stuff. Could we be seeing the effects of something that is purposefully being done? Think about it. Get rid of a lot of people. Number one, cause mass casualties. We are seeing in Texas this camp. What was there? Kids. The people were walking through the cabins and they were saying, well, if this water was in here and it was devastating them and it hit so bad, then why are the beds still made? They're not even wet. Could these catastrophes have been a setup to get these kids out of there and they were taken before it even happened? So many things happen, but yet it doesn't make sense because the narrative that they're spinning about this stuff, it's a front for what's really going on. And that's with a lot of things. The whole Diddy case. You can't. That just doesn't make sense to me. The Epstein files. The Israel war. Starving children in Gaza. Why is this stuff just being allowed to happen? I mean, 9/11, the Oklahoma City bombing, the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Hell, World War II. The whole spinning narrative of why we jumped into this war. It's very interesting. Because the more you look into this stuff, it's starting to become a spider web of something was being manipulated in order for this stuff to happen. It has been 24 years since 9/11. Right? Yeah. And we are always at the verge of war. We don't ever get out of it. Don't. If they wanted peace, they could have freaking peace. They don't want peace because there's no money in peace and there's no way for them to get rich. There's no money in the cure for medicine. And the cure for sickness through medicine, through getting rid of this stuff and giving people the technology in order to heal themselves. There's no money in people growing their own food and living off grid, providing their own energy for their own homes, providing their own food for their families, providing their own food, water, and community safety in groups like they used to do, because they can't control people. Control. The control seems to be key in every aspect of what is going on. We see through religion. We see it through government powers. We see it through education systems. We see it through media control. We see it through spun narratives that are just blanket control mechanisms. Things you watch on the TV, race wars. Oh, it's all about Hispanics. Oh, it's all about the black communities. It's all about the minorities. Control. Why is it that we have come so far from people going, how did we get from being a government for the people, by the people, to becoming a government, a country run where the government takes care of itself and the people are left to fend for themselves, where they will not disclose information to its own citizens that could be detrimental to our very survival? Like I said, the Great Reset, catastrophes, medicine, energy resources. We've seen civilizations in past that have been far more advanced for their time, but yet they were doing things that were detrimental to the survival of humanity, and ultimately it caused them to fall into their own demise. They were their own destruction by their own hands. Their choices led civilization to those verges of the reset. Could we be seeing our very own hands, our very own ideas that are supposed to be saving humanity, or our very own ideas that are supposed to be detrimental to the advancement of our civilization, that we have become so blind to the fact that we, meaning the 99%, are not capable, based on what these people in control are saying or implementing, worth saving, because we're not fit to be able to progress civilization in this hereafter, this after the reset emergence. But like I said, this isn't just something that is happening now. This is stuff that has happened a long time. So again, like I said, what are your guys' thoughts about this? I mean, there's different ideas and different aspects of, why things happen and why we see the things that we see that are happening, and as I said, people take different approaches. People that are religious tend to go that route. People that are philosophical, that believe in the research and the data. And then you have people who are looking to the past to get answers from those who witnessed similar catastrophes, similar resets, to find an answer, to find a solution, how we can better make things work, how we can better make this world habitable without destroying each other. And I am a firm believer that we can do this. This is possible. By all means, it is possible. But I think that in order for this to happen, there has to be a greater change. There's got to be a shift in the way we are dealing with things now. We are walking ourselves steadily towards the end of a cliff. And those of us who are trying to go against the crowd, we're doing everything that we can to have people, look at things, realize what's going on. We're not telling you to just take our word for everything. What we're saying is do your research. Look into the stuff that we're talking about and see for yourself where this rabbit hole goes. Because it's not just about take my word for it and this is how it is. You're yelling like these people on these podcasts, screaming, and you guys are a bunch of idiots and you're stupid and I'm telling you all this stuff. And that's not how you get people's attention. Give them the information. Let them look at it for themselves. Let them figure out what they want to believe. And if they choose to believe it, good. Welcome to the club. If they don't, then they're probably not ready for it. Or they'll never be ready for it. They'll never be ready to realize what is happening. And this is not, like I said, this is just not about conspiracy theories, folks. This is about everything. Life in general. Where we come from, who we are, why we're here. What our purpose was to be here. Where our purpose is for the future. And getting us to that point to where we can survive and we can thrive the way we were meant to do so. But the narratives and all this stuff that we've been, brainwashed into thinking, everything needs to be rethought. It has to be. Because it's not the path that we're meant to be on. The path that humanity was meant to thrive and survive on is not what we're doing now. And people are looking for this false sense of hope, this false sense of safety, this false sense of answers from things that they may make you feel good. They may make you think that you're happy. They may make you think that you have found the answers to the truth. But when you look at a lot of these things, it leads you to a point where you're going the way it's leading away from the information that has been given to us, that has been here passed down through thousands and thousands of years, not only just texts, but information regarding drawings, buildings, evidence that is found in archaeological digs that is rewriting the narratives of what they thought was actual fact. And the interpretation of these signs and this information and these texts and the evidence that they're finding or they have found or just going back over this stuff, it has helped a lot of people understand the narrative of what is and what was back then, why it happened, and the purpose of it happening. Now, there has been information that has been told to people. It has been brought and messaged to people through people who are trying to lead their current civilizations out of these detrimental decisions they were making. But again, those people weren't ready. So what happened? They were destroyed because they couldn't get their stuff together. They couldn't figure out what was happening and heed the warning signs, not only just by what was being shown to them or was occurring around them, but by people who came and were trying to tell them, hey, you need to get it together, or something bad is going to happen, or some of you are going to make it and some of you are not. The shifting of vibrations and frequencies that people are on that are allowing them to realize this information and see things for what they really are. One thing that I wish I could do, that I would love to do, which is why I love the military, because you could travel to other countries and just seeing things, is being able to do that and witness this stuff firsthand, see it, feel it, touch it, hear from the words, the mouths of these people whose culture has been unhinged, untouched, unbiased, distorted for thousands of years. And they're telling you directly from the words of their ancestors by information that has been passed down for thousands and thousands of years. And as I said, that is one thing that I loved about being in the military, was getting information. When I started getting into more historical stuff, because I always loved history, and just talking to people and getting the word of mouth information handed down, that you hear them talking about these beings or these giants or these sky gods, or how they were able to heal people with just this technology that was given to them by these beings that came from the sky. Whatever it is, the information and seeing these places is really cool. Seeing these megaliths or these structures or these quote unquote holy sites that defy reason, defy explanation of how this could be happening, why it was even there. That is one thing that I would love to do, is be able to travel and around and see these places and get the information and experience it firsthand. And although a lot of us are not able to do that stuff, we can still research and we can still look up information and get the information from people who are able to do it, and cross-reference a lot of things with other people's evidence, and make our own decisions based on what we hear. And that's the big thing, is getting the information and making your own choice about what it is that you want to do with it. And I have always said, to family members and friends, and I like I said, when I got really into this and I started trying to open up to people, they would laugh at you. They would laugh at me. Oh, dude, you're crazy and blah, blah, blah. And this is BS. And, they didn't want to hear it because they weren't ready. They weren't seeing it the way I see it. Fortunately for me, I mean, a lot of people did hinder it because they were like, yeah, man, I noticed that too. Or, yeah, that makes sense, man. And it was like, they had an inkling that stuff was going on, or they saw things and they really were like, they were jiving with what I was saying. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. So when I started this podcast 2 years ago, going on 2 years, that's what really pushed me, was because getting the information out there to everybody and having a discussion about it, talking to people and saying, hey, what are your guys' thoughts on all this? Again, if you guys want to join the podcast, it's going to be that first link right there. It says Restream. I don't have anybody coming on yet. So we've been on for a little bit over an hour now. But like I said, I mean, if anybody's got anything that they want to add to this or say or discuss, go ahead and shoot me a message or something. Or if not, you guys don't want to come on, then probably wrap it up here a little bit. But I think that if people were to realize the research and understanding, who we are as human society, the true nature and the true meaning of what these people who came before us and were teaching us, trying to tell us something about our place in this universe, to not go by the norms and the belief systems of what they are being stuck in, because you're doing exactly the opposite of what these people came to tell us not to do. And I know I had to put my glasses on, I'm sorry. So I really heed people that are striving for answers, truth. And I don't mean me telling you what is true. I mean me telling you to look at this stuff and you finding what it means and what it feels to you. Because for everybody, when they find this and they start doing their own due diligence and looking at this stuff, it means something different to everybody. My meaning of why I did, why I realized it, because I felt like this my whole life as growing up. This isn't nothing new to me. It just makes more sense now, because now I can put it together. And researching and talking with other people who are like-minded, it makes sense. Because a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people are realizing what is going on. A lot of people are understanding there's something bigger to this picture than what we have all been told. And we just want to help everybody else realize it, to understand. And as I said, you can't make everybody see or realize what is going on. All you can do is just give them the information, let them do what they want to do with it. And a lot of times it's not going to come out the way you want, but that's fine. You might lose friends. You might lose family members. You might be talked about in certain circles where you're that person. You're that weirdo. Don't talk to this guy because he thinks this way. It's nothing different that we didn't see in the Inquisition, the witch trials, the destruction of a narrative to falsely paint people who are trying to get the information out that is not hurting people. It is to help them, to wake them up, to realize, wake up, look at what's happening around us. This is not the way things should be. We are being led falsely to our demise, our destruction. There is a better way of going about this, and it is not what our path is for humanity right now. That is all we want to do. The information is out there. The choice is up to everybody individually. But collectively, if we can do this, it will make a big difference. It will shift humanity's course in history if we can get this taken care of and pulled together. It would be so detrimental and historic that it would be, I mean, I can't even fathom the idea. It seems so far-fetched, but we know we can do it. That if there was no wars, there was no famine, there was no hunger, there was no homelessness, there was no drugs that needed to be forced down to everybody, that their health could be dramatically saved or corrected by this technology or this information that is out there to help people, that the world would not have to plunder and destroy other countries and fight against each other for things that are worthless. That humanity could progress together without having to destroy itself. And not only that, shift its consciousness of control and deception that has been implemented to keep our souls, our mind, our consciousness enslaved, to stop people from progressing and reaching an elevation collectively in order to advance us to where we should be. That is the main point. That is the key that I believe that we should all, we are trying to strive. Will we reach it? Yes, we will. It might take a while. But people are starting to realize, they're starting to wake up and understand the seriousness and the reality of what is going on around us. So I know we were kind of all over the place with what was being discussed tonight. So I appreciate everybody that has been following. I know it sucks because usually I'm pulling up pictures or I'm pulling up, transcripts and stuff and showing documents and videos on what I'm talking about. But as soon as I'm able to get some stuff to do that, it'll get back to that. But like I said, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for following along. Sometimes it just feels like, crap, I don't even know why I do this anymore because nobody really cares. They don't want to listen to it. And it's been far and few between where I get anybody that even comes on here and talks, because everybody's caught up in doing their own thing, that they're just, people are worried now. People are tripping out about, should I stay here? Should I move? Is it going to be safe where I'm at? And they've got their own worries and their own cares of life. But I appreciate everybody who does watch, who does follow, who does listen along. For the people that, come on and they're watching for like 2 seconds, 2 minutes or whatever, and they want to make their, judgmental perception on what they're seeing because it's not fitting what they want. All I can say is thank you because you took the time to watch it. Hopefully you'll come back and watch the rest of it or look at the rest of my videos that I have and just realize if you're not into this yet or you feel like you're alone and you're like, man, I'm not really sure about if I want to, jump down this rabbit hole. You're not alone. There's plenty of people that are out here that are trying to do that, or that did feel the same way that you felt. We all felt like we were alone. We felt like we were weirdos. We felt like we were freaking off our rocker. But we weren't alone in this journey. It is all destined for those who are willing or who are chosen, because this just doesn't happen for everybody. And there are those who do see what is going on, but they choose not to worry about it. They just go with the flow because they don't want to cause a ruckus, to cause, disturbance in their lifestyle. So again, I thank you guys for coming along, and share the podcast. If you guys haven't already liked it, shared it, follow, leave a comment in the comment section, you know what I mean? And let me know what you think. Let me know about some things that you guys want to discuss and what you guys want to talk about. I'm always asking everybody, give me some topics to talk about, and if you're willing to come onto the podcast, let me know and I'll bring you on and we'll have a good discussion about whatever it is that we want to talk about. Thank you guys for coming along on this journey. It's been really cool and it's been really interesting, and I can't thank you guys enough for the comments that I get, or for the information that is being shared with me by people who are interested in the same subject matter, the same topics, and sharing that stuff with me and having discussions. I really appreciate everybody for doing that. And again, I don't get a chance to do this, because of, I got, like everybody, I got a life. I got to deal with things, and I got to take care of stuff. And but I do try and get on here as much as I possibly can. I know I was on every Friday, and I'm going to try and keep doing that every Friday, 7 o'clock. I'll be here between 7 and 8. So if you guys want to chime in, I will see you guys next Friday. We'll be here. And if you want to come on to the podcast, like I said, just shoot me a message, man. We'll get it done, and we'll have a good discussion, and we'll get some information out there to the people, and have a good talk. So again, thank you guys. You guys be safe. Have a good weekend. Just remember, you matter and you mean something. Your life is detrimental to the survival of those around you. So your life means more to just you. It means something to everybody else. So take care of yourself. Have a great weekend. Be safe. May the Creator shine His light on you and keep you in His protective arms. And we'll see each other again next Friday. So again, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you, and we'll get it rolling again next week. Thanks, Skid.